Hello and welcome to Salome's Writer Therapy, where you and your writing connect, where I will share tips and techniques on writing, but also give you tools and clarity on how to choose the options that is best for the writer that you want to be. Before we jump into today's episode, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what to expect in this episode. I'll be giving you a list of things that I want you to consider before you start writing. And throughout this episode, there will be segments that I call Choose for You, where I will go into detail on how you can choose the best option for you. So this goes a step beyond just giving you tips and techniques and tricks. So listen out for those choose for you sections so that you can make the choices that are best for the writer that you want to be. So grab your favorite beverage, pick a cozy spot, and let's dive into today's episode. The first thing that I want you to consider before you start writing is to figure out your story's DNA. And your story's DNA is the genre and category. Now, the genre are things like romance, fantasy, mystery, and the category is like middle grade, young adult, or adult. Now, to choose for you, how I would suggest that you approach choosing your genre and category is to first of all look at the things that you love to consume, the stories you read, the TV shows and movies that you watch. Now, sometimes it's not as clear and transparent as that. Sometimes it's not a perfect fit. In that case, look beyond your writing and reading habits. Look at your life in general. Look at your personality. Look at how you react in certain situations, or what things excite you in your day-to-day life. What things gives you chills? What things makes you invigorated? Think of how those things can be translated into genre or category. And in terms of the category, I would suggest, if at all possible, if you could sit down and imagine, who is it that you want to read the story? Who do you see flipping through the pages, reading your story? Who is it? Is it a middle-aged woman? Is it a teenage boy? Is it a 12-year-old child? Who is it that you want this story to mean something to? And through that, you can be informed of what your category can be. And on the topic of category, just remember that the category is, for the most part, about your audience. So think about the types of content and themes you want to explore in your story and how that would fit in these different categories. The next thing that I want you to consider is the length of your story. How complex do you want your story to be? How deep do you want to dive into your characters' lives, into the settings, into the plots? How many characters do you want to follow in your story? Think of those things when you think of story length, and then look at what you would need to accomplish it. Would it be enough to just write a short story, or is there enough information to fill a full-length novel? And remember, in this case, the genre and the category that you choose also informs the story length. So make sure that you do your research. Keep in mind that if you have your category and your genre chosen, it will be so much easier to decide what length your story needs to be. The next thing that I want you to consider before you start writing is whether you want to meticulously plan every twist and turn in your story, or whether you want to let the story just flow organically. Yes, I am talking about plotting versus pantsing. And to choose for you, if you've never written a story before and you don't know what option is best for you, I would suggest to start on the pantsing side of the scale, meaning to start with no to very little plotting and just write. See how the story flows. See how far you can get before you need to add details. And then if you need to, do some detailed plotting a little bit at a time until you reach the sweet spot that works well for you. The key to remember here is neither option is wrong, but as a new writer or an aspiring writer, the easiest place to start is to just sit down and write. You can add the details as you need them. The next thing I want to talk to you about is your writing process. Do you need to write every day? Do you want to binge write over weekends? Do you prefer to write in the morning or the afternoons, or are you a night owl? These are the types of things that you need to consider. To choose for you, at this point, I would suggest you look at other times in your life where you need to be productive. Because remember, to write a story takes a lot of focus, concentration, and brain power. So ideally, you would have to choose a time or a schedule that allows you a certain amount of freedom when it comes to your focus, concentration, and brain power. So look at other parts of your life where in the past you have been productive, and look at the circumstances surrounding that. Were you productive for an hour because you spent an half an hour walking in the neighborhood and you felt refreshed, and then you could sit down and you could work and it was great and you loved it? Then maybe that is something to consider and include in your writing process. Does those pockets of time happen for you after you've eaten a healthy meal or taken a nap, or when the house is quiet? If you can isolate the circumstances that work well for your productivity, then that will help you immensely when trying to figure out your writing process. So to choose for you in this case would be to look beyond what you think you should be doing and to ignore what other people are doing. Be true to yourself. And if that means that for your productivity and your creativity to come to light, you can only write every second week for a couple of hours, then do that. If that means you can write for 10 minutes on your lunch break, then do that. But the one thing that I do just want to mention here is just be realistic and honest about the time you have available. Don't get yourself to a point where you sacrifice things that you never intended to sacrifice so that you can get your story done. But if you don't prioritize your story time, then it's never going to happen either. So it's about striking that balance between what you need to do to get the story done and what you need to do to be fulfilled and balanced as a human being. The last thing, it's not necessarily a step that I want you to take before you start writing, but more like a reminder, just a tap on the shoulder to let you know that it's gonna be okay. Because your first draft is just that, it's a draft. The magic where your story comes to life, where everything comes together and all the pieces fall into place, that happens in the editing phase. So don't stress about perfection when you are drafting. Even if you are one of those people who prefer to edit as you go, while you are drafting, remember that progress beats perfection every time. So in terms of the editing phase, how do you choose for you? This is something I think that happens almost instinctively for people, where you can't start your writing session without going back and to edit the previous session's work, because it's like a nag in your brain. And some people can let it go and leave it until the complete draft is finished. If it is something that you want to consciously choose, I would say, once again, look at the rest of your life. Can you leave things unfinished and still feel that you've made progress? For example, if your goal is to clean the kitchen, can you just do the dishes and be happy with that? Feel that you've made progress? Feel better about the state of the kitchen? Or are you just frustrated that the entire kitchen isn't done? That you didn't wipe the counters, or you didn't mop the floors, or you didn't clean out the fridge? If that's you, hello my friend, that's me too. The reason why I say to look at things like that is it gives you an idea of what you can expect when you're writing. Because at the end of the day, your writing is connected to you, right? It comes from you. So it stands to reason that the person that you are outside of writing will be similar or the same as the person you are when you're writing. So if you are the person who can't stand a disorganized space, or you can't feel like you've made progress if there is one task left undone, then in this case, yes, maybe consider doing edit as you go. But remember, don't distract yourself with edits when you're supposed to be drafting. Stick to the schedule that works for you. If you want to edit as you go, make time for it. Embrace the blank page with confidence. And remember, every word you write is a step closer to your masterpiece. If you found any of these tips helpful, I would really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell. I also do want to let you know that there is a checklist in the description below that you can check out. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment. So until next time, may your creativity flow freely and your fingers dance upon the keys. Keep writing with joy and stay connected. Cheers.